Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to infinite light. Infinite light. Can we ever get too much of that? No way. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for the mighties. What joy. What joy. Going, seeing those little iMessages and everyone looking so deeply together and everyone just supporting each other really with the hearts and just taking every lesson. It's so helpful. It's so helpful. It's so joyous. And to really have this team, it's like just being cuddled by a team of devoted beings who want to see the truth and see the denials. Might need to close that. The kids next door jumping in the pool. And thank you, love you. And and to just bask as this light. Can we think of a better thing to do than just bask as light? Will we allow ourselves just to bask? Let's ask Jesus, is it valuable just to bask as light and see what he says? Let's see what the light says about basking as light. Is that helpful? Because we can see that we're light. Light basking. Instead of sun basking, we have new light basking. Whenever Jesus says, okay, just bask. He reminds me, just talk to angels because they don't speak. They only speak God language. Silence. You're so steeped in words. You ever feel like you're playing word touche in there? Like there's like a little touche going on. Well, these thoughts, but not those thoughts, and then those thoughts, and then these thoughts, and then you just watch it, you know, like without getting involved, stay as the light, you know, and just kind of observe that how they spring like little weeds. And then it'll be like a whole new topic, unrelated, and then we get lost in those weeds. And all of a sudden, like, we're really unhappy, like we don't know why we're and it just makes me think so much with Jesus saying, your mind wanders. Too much mind wander. You need light training. He's remind me, light training for all of us. Light training. Remind, is the light here? Is love here? Is love here? Love that answers every question. Love that doesn't know problems. Does the light know problems? Does it have like a problem list? I remember just always having a to-do list, and I still have to write things down sometimes. But when you look in the light, does the light have a to-do list? We can never rest if we have too many to-do lists because we're so involved with the do-do list that we forgot that the light is here. So we're still in the world, but not of the world. Is the light of the world? Light's not of the lights, but are miracles beyond this world? Notice the miracles are from, they're just allowing what's beyond this world to just move through and express divinely. Divine expression, that's a miracle. Infinite loving expression of divinity. celebrating itself for no reason whatsoever. Does the light have any reason to celebrate whatsoever in our direct experience? Can we look in there and find a reason for the light to be? And do we have to go to the light and try to prove our existence? Do we have to go in there and prove to the light, I'm real, because that's what the ego does all day. Is the ego's function trying to prove that it's real all day long? That's why we're exhausted. Because those words are trying to come together and congeal. I could just tell after a while you start to watch and it's like, Jesus, you're so right. I'm trying to congeal like Jello to an object. Put all these thoughts together and stack it into some kind of meaning. Does the light congeal? Is it an object, this light, an object? That is the gateway, seeing that what's here isn't an object. And if what's here is not an object, that means there's no object over there either. Because the world depends on relative experience. An object here, an object here. So last night we watched The Phone Booth. And I hadn't seen it in a long time. It's really profound. It's with Colin Farrell. And, you know, it's this New York guy and he's going down the street and he's working the deals. Ego works the deals. But it's funny to see the elements of ourselves in these characters. How the ego's always working a deal. And to watch these movies, to see the power of experience, the power of the desire for experience. When he ends up in a phone booth talking to himself, actually. But it seems like he's talking to another character. So we're creating all these characters. It's really hilarious. If you're in a situation, you ask Jesus, did I make this? He's going to tell you, yes. I ask him that all the time. I made this, didn't I? Go, yep. This scenario. And you start seeing how consciousness, like, it wants these little activities, these little dramas. So he got a really big drama. Seems like a really big drama. Because we feel guilty, and we feel guilty, and then we're going to make little dramas to avoid looking at the guilt. But what the beauty of the light circle is, Jesus is taking us first to the light where we see there's no guilt, so we can see through that error of thought right there, gone, to look directly at desire. You can ask the light, is desire before guilt arises? See, guilt's up the chain, so we're staying below emotions. I mean, emotions can arise, but we're using them. They're the trigger, the twig. And then we see the twig, and then we're going to dive. Okay, show me really quick the desire for this experience. I'm willing to see it. Am I desiring this experience? And then when he says yes, which he does all the time, if it's still there, then we can just ask immediately. Look how fast the correction, how fast is the correction in the light when we look? We can ask him, and he gives us this beautiful search your mind. So let's just search our mind for any twigs. Jesus, will you help me by showing me any twigs today that denied supreme happiness that I need to see with you? Any miracles? I'm looking. We're miracle-minded. We're hunting for those miracles. Anytime I was kind of upset or that I haven't cleared. Because then every day we can sweep as we go. See, we can just sweep with Jesus at the end of the day. Spend a little time checking in on any denials that came up. It's really good when we get light trained enough to, immediately ask for that miracle. But sometimes there's an idea that we're too busy. So let's ask Jesus. Let's ask Jesus if there's any desire. I'm going to look at that here. To be too busy for a miracle. Oh, any desire to be too busy for a miracle, to ask for a miracle? I'm going to put that over in the light. Are we ever too busy for a miracle? Let's ask the light that and see what it says. See, that's a delay of the miracle. That's like saying, I don't want a miracle. It's like coming up with a distraction, not to really look. But that's okay. Still, you know, these things happen as we're becoming more and more light trained to catch it. To light train is just noticing what's happening and going, okay, when we bought the ticket for the ego's tour plan for the day, where we need to be reminded of the light, and we just keep asking, I just keep asking Jesus, okay, I saw my mind starting to, you know, go into a little fantasy land there. Can you help remind me or show me the miracle? We can ask, okay, Jesus, show me any little fantasy scenarios I was painting today, like little pictures, little paintings, trying to make them real. Can you show them to me? And can I have a miracle? Is that a good place for a miracle? I can hear him saying yes already. It's a good place. Any kind of mind wandering, the desire to deny a miracle, the desire to forget. Or as he says, remembering not to laugh. So are there any remembering not to laugh in my day-to-day? He says, whenever you don't follow me, you can't laugh because you won't be accepting your divine power. He says, follow me and let's laugh together. Because when we don't follow him, see, we're making the unreal real. We're trying to make the unreal real. And he's showing us the way not to make anything real. Is the light trying to show us that nothing is real? Nothing is real. Nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever. Is the light trying to point us to the strawberry field out of the... Reminds me of Fiona Apple. If you haven't seen that little video, it's worth finding it. Fiona Apple singing Across the Universe. And it's so exceptional. It's so off the rails. It's in black and white, and there she is. And there's scenes in it from Pleasantville. If you haven't seen that movie, that's quite an amazing wake-up movie right there. But there is scenes, she's singing completely calm. Nothing's gonna change my world. And behind her, these guys are running around wrecking, I don't know if it's an ice cream shop or there's candy flying. She's just completely still. And that's what Jesus is offering us, is the light, completely still and unmoved by any changes in this world. Nothing's gonna change my world. What a beautiful symbol that is. Just let the clouds pass, the storms pass. Smooji says, be like the sky. Stay as light. And just see how we just absolutely cannot resist the temptation to follow thought, to play in the air of thought. The whole gig is going to the stove and making a little pot of words that we're going to believe. Yet we can observe this. This is where it gets, where we stay as the light and just start noticing the movement in consciousness rather than getting really hung up in it. was sort of like, I think it was Rita that sent this today. I had another strange night out last night. Actually, what's starting to happen is we're starting to have a normal night out. Because we're looking at it with new eyes. We're starting to see. He says, I had a dinner with non-course friends. I felt like a stranger in a strange land. I sat observing how used to trying to find meaning in the meaningless world everyone is. Now, so it's helpful to start observing. We really want to remember there's no one out there. So our function, Jesus reminds me, like when there seem to be forms and they're doing whatever, first of all, we go everywhere on guidance. Because so many times we're going to agree to go do something like this, go out with friends, and it is not guidance to try to horizontally socialize. See, and if it's not in guidance, we are going to be really unhappy. So we first, for any kind of joinings, we, you know, exactly. And the great thing about this group, you know, is we're really getting deeper into this joining with each other, that if we're not sure, let's hit the button. And also I was going to see if there are beings that have been in these light circles for a while that want to be joining buddies. Okay. And we just started joining buddy. Some of you guys are already starting to join, but we can actually join on these decisions. Like, you know, somebody's asking me to go to whatever. And as the mind clears and we can really hear the spirit, we don't even have to know what the story is. We're going to feel it with each other because there's only one mind. And you'll be amazed at how relieved you are when you can really be with beings that are so committed to God and hearing and following the light. You'll be relieved when someone says, I'm not feeling you're to do that, because they don't have the same personal investment in what you're, you know, thinking that you want to be doing. And so our brother can really help. It's like reaching over and grabbing to the radio station that's tuned in. That's what we do at the center with each other. At first, the ego balks at it. It's like, who's telling me? But then you start to see, man, that's a relief. So if we go out shopping and things like that, we join. Do you feel that? What do you know? You start to get into a groove. It's funny. It was like Renee was heading, I don't know if you were heading up the stairs. I was heading down. All of a sudden we came like this, and I said, boy, I heard we're to be squeezing limes right now. And she goes, I heard it too just now. Go down. It's helpful to hear it together, what God will for us is. So that's just an option that's coming to mind, that how we can support each other for these sorts of, you know, is this truly the call of the heart in willingness? Is this what's most helpful for healing the mind? That's how we support each other. So we don't dive down little egoic rat holes of what we should. Remember who that voice is that's saying, oh, you should be doing this and should be doing that. Is the spirit saying should? Does the spirit know what the word should is? See that the light doesn't know what should is. So anyway, so we go out with friends. So our only function when we're out with anything, so I'm saying this to remind myself, because I was talking to my family members and that sort of thing today, is just notice the thoughts that are arising, because they're no one's thoughts. Those thoughts out there aren't different than the thoughts that come up in our head. They're thoughts arising in totality. So I'm like, whenever thoughts arise, and at least I'm asking Jesus, yes, okay. So he's saying, I just check in. Jesus, when I start hearing beliefs float by, see, those are opportunities to see our beliefs floating. Okay, you're sitting at the dinner and here comes someone talking about, if you eat scrambled eggs on every other Wednesday, you'll die. You know, those kind of, sometimes it's not that obvious, right? But So rather than, and I remember, I'm telling you, I used to think this, which is another ego playing consciousness. Oh, I'm glad I don't believe that anymore. Ta-ta-da, you know. See, what our only function is to go, is there still a belief here in that? Is there any kind of twitch with what they're saying? See, we're the light, so nothing bothers us. The light. Is the light bothered by anything? Get involved in any of these conversations about the end of the world or our friends talking about vacation? So the light can equally sit at a table when it's in guidance and just be looking for a miracle. See, that's our function. Jesus is giving me the reminder right now. Our function is to look for miracles in every situation. And I see how powerful that is now. That means we're looking for love in every situation, in a way to extend love in every situation and hear his voice and speak in every situation. It might tell us to be quiet. And also just to be with him, you know, kind of listening in. Is there anything I need to release? Am I any of those little things that people are talking about? Because the ego will also play the spiritual superior game. I know I played that game. You know, they're subtle. It's more and more subtle how the ego will try to get hold of what we know and that we know something. And so we're just really noticing. That's our only function. We just kind of notice, and I just go to, is there any kind of miracles here? Because there was like a play for a while of kind of being the spiritual one. It's just part of the play of consciousness. It's not good or bad or indifferent. It's just faster if we're the light and we're constantly noticing. Okay, where am I denying the light, regardless of the situation that we're in? Where am I denying that I am one, that one is here? And the clues are always that little bit of tension. Sometimes we're not sure, so it's really good, you know, like Sarah's pointing up. We go up to say, okay, is there anything I need to see here? Because remember, we're the ones, we can ask later, we're the ones pulling in all the characters to sit at that table at dinner. That's what's so profound about watching that phone booth. Because you could see, even though it was like, it seemed like a horror scenario, when you really start to see the desire to be a victim and how powerful the mind is, and it's going to pull up all kinds of things, all kinds of attack scenarios are going to show up just because our minds are that powerful. So the world gets populated by these characters. This is a good thing to remember because it seems so real. But in the light of divine being, are any of the characters in the world real? Does the light know any characters or any people, or is it agreeing that the world is real? And we need that light to tell us where we're making the world real, because we can never be happy with the world is real, but we'll try. The ego's going to try really hard to keep both. But we can look in the light. Does the light of divine being hang on to the world and the light? Is that possible? And we can ask, is it possible to have supreme happiness? Ask the light, is it possible to have supreme happiness in the world? And hear the answer. Is it possible to have supreme happiness and not follow the light continually? And hear the answer. Supreme happiness is continual being infinite light. So if we hold on to any little scrap of the world from a miracle, then we withhold supreme happiness from ourselves. the recognition and celebration that it's all light. Well, we can recommend, but it'll be recognized that they're light. Because it's easy. We can see that there's light. It's like my 7-year-old niece. It's like, oh, there's light here, which is wonderful. It's a great start. It's the start. It's the beginning. The light, and then, oh, I am denying the light, and then really locking down with Jesus and just going, okay, there's nothing more valuable to me than being with you in every denial. There's nothing more valuable than supreme happiness. Because if there is a perception that something's more valuable than supreme happiness of this world, that it can't appear, we can ask the light that. Can supreme happiness be here unless that is number one? You start to see when Jesus was talking about diligence for God and his kingdom, he wasn't kidding. I mean, let mine eye be single for that only one goal, the goal for light. The ego will convince us, oh my gosh, I'm giving up everything. And and it's good to ask the light that. Does the light know what sacrifice is? So it's really good to ask the question on the spiritual journey very early. We might make the top 10 questions you want to ask Jesus like right out of the gate. I think about it's going to make it a lot easier. The first one is, Jesus, is there any desire for this to be a difficult spiritual journey? That's the first one. Desire experience for this to be difficult. Check in with them, make sure that's clear. And if it isn't, then get a miracle quick. Otherwise, it's going to manifest, and it's going to be, because remember, he says in the Course, this need not be painful at all. If it appears, then there's a desire for it to be painful. We just check in with the light. Let's ask the light, does the spiritual awakening need to be painful? What makes it painful is saying no. Is it the no that makes it painful? No to divinity. This is how tricky the ego is. It's going to hurt if you wake up. You're going to have to sacrifice. But that's part of the play in consciousness to keep the ego in play. So it's a good one to ask him about the sacrifice thing too. Jesus, is there any desire below my level of awareness to have an experience of sacrifice, of losing something? And something can be lost by following, by waking up, by seeing what's true. I'm willing to just put that gently, any kind of energy about loss, losing friends, losing however it looks, because the consciousness will display that in, we could give a list. We should put a list of all the different ways consciousness tries to make it seem like loss is going to happen. So it's good to ask generally about loss and just offer it for a miracle, and then just start thinking about the ways in which it plays for loss. You're going to lose your family. It knows, see, the whole structure of it is, it knows, because we want to deny ourselves, it knows where every weak point is. So it's going to go for that first. You're going to lose your family. Now, I don't talk to them often, but I just talked to 3 family members today. So I've definitely been shown that's wrong. But it's a different kind of relationship. The mind's so free. Before, a lot of, you'll find family relationships have all kinds of obligatory things. Who's familiar with that? You know, we're in the obligations game when it comes to family. That's what families are. Families are made to hold the egoic structure in place. We can ask the light that and hear what it says. Family obligations, quote unquote. Don't tell your family. I'm just kidding. It's not like we're going up to our family and saying, look, you're not even real. We're just noticing where the ego knows how to get right in there so that we won't look. Where loss is and where sacrifice is. It's really good to have a talk with Jesus about that. Because we're light. We can talk to him about, okay, show me all the places where I believe in loss and sacrifice on this trip. So families, friends, Jesus is going to make me leave my home. It may occur. But that was an amazing thing too, because the minute I pulled out of my driveway, so I got my house ready to sell and start giving away all kinds of stuff and packed up, I left my house. I didn't even know if it was going to sell. It was up for sale. And I moved to my sister's house in Texas. She was going to let me store a few things there. As soon as I pulled out of the driveway, I was so peaceful and calm to start driving. I was pulling out my driveway to drive from Madison, Wisconsin, all the way to Houston, Texas. And I was like, it was the smoothest, it was like nothing. And I'm seeing when we follow spirit and we just keep listening, kerfuffles may arise. But you could feel it was the right thing, and to both totally be in trust. And that was like, especially for the character play for all the control, having control over everything, and to let someone else totally take care. And the neighbors stepped in. My realtor lived down the street. He was checking on my house all the time. I think he even bought shower curtains to hang because he didn't like the ones I had. It was really amazing. And then I just hired, someone came in and shut the whole place down. I didn't even go back up there to shut my house down after it was sold. Just got handled and everything got shipped. That was it, done. And this is a really big one and a good one to spend time with Jesus on, the idea of sacrifice in this journey, because that's also where tremendous pain is. Tremendous. The ego hides so much pain in the idea of sacrifice. We can ask Jesus. The light of divine being is a lot of pain hidden in the idea of sacrifice, that there's some loss to awaken to spiritual identity, true identity. That's like the little ego trump card. Thankfully, we have enough beings around us going to tell us this just isn't so. Supreme happiness. Does supreme happiness know what loss is? Unknown in the light. Light doesn't know what it is. So as long as we're focused on the light, it's really helpful. It's all there is, actually, on this journey. And then we have each other. Jesus has given us that gift of continual joining. And just keep sending the questions are so great that are coming out on that group. When people are sharing their experience of seeing, conversations were about schools, grandkids, diet, property values, vacation, the cost of gas. So it gets really interesting, speaking of the idea of sacrifice and loss, to watch, just observe without judging, right? The light's not judging anything, but now the world we become the happy learner. It's like, this, and curiosity about the world. It's like, let me just see how this works and just start to notice how the world is geared toward somebody talking about cost of gas. What are they talking about? And we see how these little things slip into our language patterns, these little insidious things, like they're talking about, okay, where can I go to get a better deal? And then we'll drive all over town and we think it's lost to follow spirit. What a relief. I'm learning more and more. What a relief it is. When I go to reach for something on the shelf, I go, Jesus, you know, but I can still see sometimes those patterns playing. I had a conversation with Jesus. Do I want to have an experience of being cheap? And he goes, yes. You know, to see that it's all cared for. Can you see how much energy? I mean, we're worried about loss with spirit, and it's hilarious because if we really look at our life, it's all about loss. You know, where can I go on a cheap vacation? When can I have happiness in a vacation in the future? What if I don't have my child in the right school? I mean, it's agony. It's like nonstop. It's nonstop loss. That's what is so hilarious. That's why we're getting ourselves hoodwinked by the idea that spiritual awakening is lost. We're living in it. We can see it all around us. Watch the news, you know. It's like a travesty of loss out there. We want to transcend that. To see that light doesn't know what loss is. And we can see it right now because we can see lights go. If it's total, how can you lose? See, total and complete. So all we're doing in spiritual awakening is seeing what's never lost anything and has always been here without loss. And just asking Jesus so he can tell us when we want to have an experience of being cheap or whatever. Worrying about money and all that stuff. Does divine light, let's just ask while we're asking, does divine light have any worries about money? Is it in there kind of counting change? This is for me. I can see it. Any ideas? There might be scarcity about funds or I realize there's absolutely no real value in any of it. Yet this is what we're valuing. We're valuing suffering like big time. And we're going to, and the ego is going to play that like waking up to light is sacrifice and suffering. So it's really good to keep going to the light and saying, is the light suffering? And asking the light, is the light supreme happiness? And hear the only answer that it says. Now, some look at light and then they go, and I too, you know, okay, that's a nice parlor trick. Seeing that the light's here. Until those denials are washed out, there's no room for supreme happiness. We can see the light, we can recognize it. Without the miracle washed out, the joy just, you'll get like love kisses. Muji calls them love kisses from inside that are just beyond the beyond. So kissed by totally, and you probably have had these experiences, so kissed by God. That's so unmistakable that there's a love here that's so infinite and beyond everything. As he said, I just walked out of my life the way it was. I couldn't live like that. And you see, is it the joy, it just gets more and more consistent. Resting as divine being, as light. And that's all he's offering. Happiness. He's offering supreme happiness to the Supreme Happiness Club. So I'm grateful because that's all we're here for, is to come together and celebrate wholeness. Infinite, unchanging happiness. The celebration of the unchanging. It's very helpful. Jesus reminded me today, the celebration is of sameness. This is really helpful to see. In the light of divine being and honesty of God, does the light celebrate sameness? See how sameness is the celebration. Like the ripping happiness that comes from sameness, seeing everything as the same. So that we can see all these differences is what is exhausting. Thank you, Jesus, for bringing us together in this holy light, the celebration of infinite love, for your patience, for your love, and for my brother, showing me that my brother leads the way. Amen. All love from San Juan Coastla. Thank you for joining us, beloveds. We send you big hugs.